What is up, large data bankers? Welcome back to another stream. Hope you all are doing super well. It's been a super long time since I got to be on the air to chat with you guys all about databases and life. And all sorts of stuff has happened. For one, I got COVID. That was a bummer. I didn't stream last week because I had literal COVID. So that kind of, you know, tells you where my head is at. Had the COVID. And the week before that, I was skiing, getting COVID. So it's sort of been like a 2-week long process of COVIDification that is now thankfully over. And you know what? I would say overall, it sucked, but it wasn't that bad. So here's the key thing. Make sure to get your vaccines. That's the key thing, right? Because if you get your vaccines, then it seems like you probably won't get it sick. So I'm thankful that I got those vaccines. Thankful that I got that booster. Thankful that it wasn't so bad for me. Hopefully, if you end up getting it, it won't be so bad for you either. But also try not to get it, you guys. You know, try not to get it. Maybe it's inevitable, but hopefully not, right? You can wear those masks, hang out with your friends at home, and try not to get that COVID. Anyway, so that's kind of like where my head is at these days. You know, it's been a bit of a busy couple weeks at work at the same time. You know, I kind of just a bunch of admin-y stuff to wrap up. All good stuff, honestly. But you know what it is. It's performance review season for many people. Did a bunch of work on that. Things went pretty well, I think, but definitely takes a lot of effort as a manager to put those together. It's worth it effort. It's good effort. I think it can be really helpful for people, but it does take a lot of work, and a lot of emotional energy goes into that for sure. So it can be a bit tiring. But it's all good stuff, honestly. All really good stuff. And then the other funny thing is that, you know, I'm about to leave on vacation. So, you know, you take that COVID time off, right? Take that COVID times, wrap up a bunch of stuff at work, and then leave on vacation. So this is going to be kind of a middle of January stream. Just wanted to make sure to say hi to everybody, do a little bit of coding, get back to the swing of things before I head off again for a couple weeks. This time I'm actually going to Colorado for more skiing. I'm kind of a skiing obsessed guy. That's what I'm learning about myself as I grow older, is that I really love skiing. Oh my gosh. Skiing is really one of the best things that you can do with your time. I feel like if you enjoy that stuff, just get out there, man. Get on those slopes. Have a good time playing around in the snow with your friends. It's really just so fun. So I don't know. That's where my head is at. What's up with everybody? How is everybody doing? It's been like a while. I feel like don't even know what you're up to. How's work? How's life? People kind of making it through the dark season, or people struggling? People doing good projects, like people coding? What are people doing? You know, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Besides that, I don't know. I think played a bunch of Wordle. That was kind of cool. That kind of blew up on Twitter, right? Everybody's into the Wordle trend these days, solving those Wordle puzzles. I played it a little bit and then haven't in a bit. What's up, Somoni? Nice to see you. Pizza Sleeves and Chopstick. How's it going? Yeah. So I don't know. So I thought on the stream today, you know, I've got a bunch of projects that I'm kind of half in the middle of that I thought I could sort of put a cap on. Got some progress going on those babies. And yeah, we're gonna take a look at those and maybe think of something new. We're feeling inspired. Maybe something will come up, some new ideas. Little database stuff to do. There's always a lot of it to do, but maybe we'll think of something new, exciting. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the idea, you know? We're going back to lo-fi. This stuff is always too loud. Dave says maybe use mmap. You know, I could always just use mmap, man. Like, people love mmap for databases, right? That's what I'm hearing. Word is on the block that mmap is the best thing to use for your database, right? Or wait, no. Is that the opposite of what they're saying? No, it's the opposite of what they're saying. People don't like mmap is on its way out, man. Nobody wants mmap in their lives these days. Mmap is considered harmful. That's what they say. So, Safe, what's going on with you?
Everybody knows that relational databases don't scale because they use joins, and write to disk.
Chopstick Wizard, thank you so much for the Prime subscription. I really appreciate that. Really sweet of you. Thank you for the support. Thanks for spending those Bezos bucks on me. Thanks. Learning some cool stuff. Hopefully we can get there. Hopefully we can get there. Maybe we should get into it. Is it time to get into it? Looking at Postgres at work. Postgres, it's a great database. It is a great database. Do a stream on the optimizer. That's an idea. I'd probably learn a lot as well. Is big data getting too big? I think it might be, man. I don't know. Big data, it's getting real big. It's getting real big. Wait, let me turn off my notifications real quick. Sometimes I forget to do that. Turn off those notifications. All right, so what do we have going on here? What is the latest? What is the latest? SQL Server in, day out, day in, day out. SQL Server, that's a good database. People love SQL Server, as well they should. That is a serious piece of kit, as they say. So what have I got going on here? You looked at the Cockroach codebase for the first time? That's cool. Did you find anything interesting? Was it overwhelming? Was it cool? What did you find? We could go over stuff that you're interested in if you want. So right, I've got these kind of three main things kind of outstanding. I think this one too. We were working on this declare, fetch, and close cursor thing for a while. This thing is in good shape, you guys. I'm pretty excited about this. So this PR was about implementing SQL, like cursors in the SQL layer where you can say declare and fetch and close and stuff. And so I think this thing is basically ready to land if I can convince other people that they should review it, which takes some effort because it's kind of a big PR. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. I think it'll be helpful if people want to use SQL cursors, which is not the most common thing to be using, to be perfectly honest. But when you use it and you don't have it, it's kind of a bummer. But I don't think I have too much to do on this one today. I suppose I could implement move support. So move is kind of like another method of using cursors where instead of just fetching from a cursor where it actually returns rows, you can also just move it around. So it's I think a pretty straightforward thing to add to the feature, but we could maybe do that today as an idea if we run out of other stuff. Other things, there's some testing things, enhancing TLP. And I wanted to do this one. So on conflict on constraint was just something that we did last month that I want to wrap up because I think it's pretty much ready to get merged. Just a couple of little last things. So I want to get this merged, get this done. And maybe some more randomized testing stuff after that. Berkeley paper where they use reinforcement learning to enhance query optimize without expert data. I have not seen that. They named it balsa. That sounds really cool. Balsa reinforcement learning. Huh. Oh, it's in Sigmod 2022. Well, there you go. So hopefully we will be looking at this. Maybe there'll be some Sigmod action for us too. We'll see. Maybe. We'll see, maybe. Before I get back to work, I have a question. Is it a bad question? Call me out. Has the name Cockroach been turned into new client adoption? I would say no. I think that people sometimes are like, what the heck? Why would you name your product this? But then the thing is that they look at the technology and they're like, oh, okay, wait, this is actually a serious piece of technology. And then it's hard for them to forget the name, right? Because it kind of sticks out in your head, right? And we actually haven't seen that cause any problems. If you look at the website, the company's doing pretty well at this point. And you look at the website and you can see the kinds of customers that we're working with. It's like, okay, serious people are using this database that's called CockroachDB, so I think it's going okay, is basically the summary there. Sometimes people wonder why. It's like, well, cockroaches, they're indestructible, they're resilient, they spread to all corners of the globe. That's kind of the idea. Raphael, hello. Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping in. It's been a little while. It was hard to getting up to speed to build on Linux. The move to using dev was weird. Yeah, I think the dev thing is still a work in progress. If you do have thoughts or comments, I'd love to hear them. You can file issues if you want. I think people are really actively developing that right now. So if you do have thoughts, comments, questions, problems, issues, feel free to file. Let's talk about it. Edgar, I see your messages. I do see your messages. Thank you for the compliment on the hairstyle. Yeah, the hair is long. The hair is very long. You could do all sorts of different stuff with it. You could put it over here. You could put it in a bun. You could put it in a ponytail. It's fun. It's fun stuff. I don't know where my little ponytail is right now. Somewhere. I lost it. But then I have no clue what to do after that. It does not say where the cockroach binary is or how to start it after that. So I was just using dev. So I think if you just say dev build, I think what it does is it sticks the cockroach binary right in your working directory. So you see it says successfully built target binary for target block cockroach. So I think this cockroach right here is in fact the binary that dev built. What are we cooking for Sigma? I don't think I'm supposed to talk about it just yet, so I'll refrain from saying anything. Yeah, maybe nothing. Maybe something, maybe nothing. I don't know, Save. I don't know. Right. Enough about that. But this does look really cool. This balsa looks cool. I'm going to forward it to some people. Maybe they will be exciting. Maybe they will be excited. We actually started to think a little bit about some reinforcement learning stuff, especially to analyze query patterns. We have the link to this guy. Yeah, so this is over here. I think some people have started to think a little bit about using, there's something called SQL to vec. Have you think about this SQL to vec thing? SQL to vec is it's like a word to vec thing for SQL, I guess. I don't know how any of this works, to be honest. Is this right? No. I think it's maybe this one. Anyway, it's sort of like one of these language model things for SQL. And you can do clustering with it. You can try to understand what is going on with things like that. And I think one of the true things is that it's very hard to analyze at scale what everybody is doing with the database, because you have to actually parse and tokenize and tree structureify these queries in order to compare them. But it gets very hard to compare giant trees of things when they're not even really very comparable. And this is where language models tend to be really good. So is it this? Query to vec. Yeah, it's this one, I think. So this one I think is quite promising and interesting. And I'm hopeful that we're going to start looking at some of this stuff pretty soon to try to understand the way that people use the database. Maybe figure out how to help people's workloads a bit better. Kadobes, hello. Long time no see. Thanks for stopping by. There was work from the Emmanuel from Cornell in that as well. I don't think I know who that is, but that's cool. Yeah, so all right. Well, I think let's just go ahead and get into it then. I think the first thing to start with would probably be your favorite topic is analytics. Okay, just as I moved on from talking about analytics, it's your favorite topic. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that this stuff is actually really cool. And I do think that it's going to be fascinating to see whether, I mean, the truth is that I don't actually know whether anybody besides Snowflake has used any of these techniques. It's like, I feel like a lot of the time people will do something like this and publish it and make something cool happen, and then nobody really uses it. So it'll be interesting to see if we can actually apply some of these techniques or if they're just sort of hyper specific to what they were doing at Snowflake. Hard to know. Maybe it's an internship project, maybe. Maybe. So I'm going to start with this guy. So this was what we were doing last month. There's some comments that I want to respond to, and then we can merge it and move on to the next thing. So let's go ahead and check this out. So this is insert on conflict on constraint. Good check out insert on conflict on constraint. So we'll go ahead and rebase this on a newer branch because it's quite old at this point. 943 commits old in particular, which is pretty old. And let's go ahead and run through some of these comments then. So we'll open up the review in reviewable. Okay, can you reword this? Let's see. So first we're going to select the entire range of commits to look at the diffs for so that we can see what things people are actually commenting on. Can you reword this to include unconstrained here in the number of bullets below? We should probably remove references to ConflictWords. With something more general like ConflictColumns now that ConflictWords is no longer an argument. That is a good point. So let's go ahead and jump to this file, FindArbiters in Mutation Builder Arbiter.go. Where is my IDE? Mutation Builder Arbiter. Okay, so essentially what we did in this PR was that, what did we do in this PR? Do I need to remind myself? Probably. So insert on conflict is something that allows you to take an action when you're inserting into the database when there's already a row that's keyed by the same thing in a unique index or primary key. And an arbiter is a way of determining the arbiter index for a particular insert on conflict statement is the index that is used to check for those conflicts. So if there's more than one unique index, I believe you need to just pick one of them. And the challenge comes into play when you consider the fact that when you do an insert on conflict, you're not actually specifying an index. You're specifying a bunch of columns to check for conflicts on. And so the database has to figure out for those columns that you are doing on conflict for, which index is supporting checks that the rows that you're inserting are unique across those columns. So that's called finding the arbiter index. And the change that I made was basically that it used to be that the only form that we supported for arbiter index selection was this implicit thing where you give a bunch of columns and it finds one that matches. And the new thing is that you can either do that or you can explicitly specify an on conflict arbiter index using this new syntax that I added called on conflict on constraint. And that was the entire point of this PR. The big meat of the PR was threading through the logic or sort of refactoring the logic that is searching for arbiter indexes to also accept potentially just an explicitly named arbiter index. And so the comment here was just about fixing this function that I changed to say that it's not only searching for ConflictWords and inferring, it's sort of doing either. So anyway, that's kind of the idea here. So let's see. FindArbiters returns a set of arbiters for an insert on conflict statement. Both unique indexes and unique constraints can be arbiters. This function panics if no arbiters are found. Arbiter constraints ensure that the columns designated by ConflictWords reference at most one target row of a unique index or constraint. An arbiter index. Wait. Oh, I see. An arbiter constraint must have columns that match the columns in ConflictWords. Did I change this stuff or was this just what it was like before? This is just what it was like before. So I feel like what I want to say here, arbiters may be selected either by explicitly passing a constraint, and then we'll specify the form, the on conflict on constraint form. We'll say named constraint. Or by passing a list of columns on which to resolve conflicts. This function panics if no arbiters are found. So And we no longer have this thing called ConflictWords, and I think it's because we are inferring them over here. So I think what we want to say is an arbiter index, let's see, we'll do something like this. When inferring arbiters from a list of columns, there are some rules. There are rules about which index or constraint may be returned. And we can say match the columns in the no on conflict case. Otherwise, it's the explicit case. Otherwise, it's the on conflict.columns. So we just need to say in the on conflict clause. So something like this. And what is this arbiter predicate? That's something I'm also a bit confused about. Oh, it's the, I see. We'll just change it to be English instead of a variable, since we no longer have that variable. Okay, I think that's basically that. Sorry, that was probably confusing. So, done. Conflict columns. Yeah, I think this is good. So init, you could return this to simply make single index arbiter set MB of I. Okay, so then maybe there's a helper that I basically missed. So I think here we're basically going to say return make single arbiter set into, what does this do? It's the same thing, I see. So, and we pass in I, basically, or MB comma I. Okay, so that's a little simpler. And this guy we don't need until later, basically. Done. Done. Oh, I see, it's actually quite nice. So here we can say return make single unique arbiter set whatever, MB comma I. Very cool, get rid of this altogether. Nice simplification. The line breaks and index of this look off to me. All right, so with hint, he's suggesting just more breaks, make it a little bit more readable. It's too bad that the auto formatter doesn't do this for you, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't, that way we wouldn't have to argue about it. But that's okay. I appreciate it anyway. It does have, I feel like the Go formatter doesn't have a good time doing these big long line issues, really. It doesn't really try to break them up in a consistent way. Okay, so that's that, no problem, done. So moving on to the next comment. So this was something I was confused about from before. So original comment was add a similar test in unique checks upsert, and I wasn't understanding what he meant. Right. You could add a test to this file similar to this test, but instead of do nothing, it uses do update set. Then I sort of felt like it was a pointless test to add because we already sort of do it. I don't know. Unique checks upsert. Why do I not see? Oh, there it is. Unique checks upsert. line 385. Okay, yeah, sure. I feel fine with that, I guess. Unique checks. Insert. So I added a, did I add this test? I feel like I didn't. I'm so confused. Like why? On conflict clause references unique without index constraint explicitly. And I think he just wants me to do another test case like this that uses the constraint. That seems fair enough. Okay. What's up, Hydron? Nice to see you. So we'll just go ahead and grab all this stuff. Well, we'll just grab the statement because we don't really know what the output's going to be yet. We're going to go put it into unique checks upsert, and we're going to put it without index. Without index. All right. And then instead of doing on conflict on constraint, do nothing, we're going to do on conflict on constraint, do update, and then say something interesting like do update. Do I have a unique underscore W? I do. Man, this is honestly super confusing. There's just so many test cases. I feel like organizing test cases is a problem that I'm having more and more of as the database gets bigger and things get more complicated. It's like maintaining these test corpuses is like, it's like a huge amount of work. Honestly, like one subject that I really want to explore at some point, maybe on a stream, is that like, basically, so we have this pretty advanced randomized testing stuff that I've talked about a few times on stream, like TLP, which we're gonna hopefully look at a little bit more in a second. But the thing is that it's like not as complex as it could be because it doesn't use any coverage direction of any sort like all the advanced fuzzers do. And really what we're trying to do is write an advanced fuzzer. And yet our fuzzer doesn't pay attention to code coverage or optimizer rule coverage or any kind of coverage, right? It doesn't understand what it's done. It's not a gray box fuzzer. It's a totally black box fuzzer. And I think that there's room to make things better there. And I want to look at it. I want to think about it. I want to think about how we can maybe even find a way to automatically generate more corpus based on the output of these coverage finders. Because right now all of our corpus is pretty much manually generated, but there's no reason it has to be. You're allowed to have automatically generated corpus as well. And I think a lot of these fuzzed test cases actually do that, and it feels like we should possibly take inspiration. I don't know. Anyway. Copy pasta, not easy to see relationships between tests. Yeah, it's true. But if you structured it with code, it gets annoying for other reasons. Like the nice thing about the test data is that it allows these automatic rewrites, which are extremely useful. Without those, you get into bad trouble as well. So I don't know. What just happened? Why is my IDE confused about what files exist? That is really bizarre. That is really weird. I've never seen that. Anyway, that is okay. Okay, let's just make sure that we're putting it in the right place in the test guide. On conflict clause references unique without index constraint. Okay. And we're going to say do update set what? I don't know, v is equal to 1 or something. Go ahead and run the test, make test package equals package SQL opt builder tests equals test. What is it called? Test builder, maybe? Is it test builder? I don't know. Test builder. A Go based internal DSL, not a textual one. Go is terrible for doing DSLs. Yeah. I think that would be interesting. I do think it would be harder to do those automatic rewrites that I'm talking about, which are really important. In fact, I'll demonstrate the automatic rewrite thing in a second. Go with generics. Has anybody here started playing around with the Go generic implementation yet? I still haven't. That's been a topic I've been meaning to explore at some point. I just haven't found the time just yet. I think it could be cool to do it on the stream. Maybe look at how we could maybe improve some of the vectorized execution stuff with generics, although it might be kind of a big project. It might not even be helpful, but I'm interested to try it out at some point anyway. Type inference is still painful, terrible. Okay, so as you can see, what happened here is that we failed the test case because we didn't find the expected output. And interestingly, actually, this one also failed, which is weird. I did not expect to see that. I wonder if that's because I changed some of the code. You always have to state the type and it creates clutter. Ah, what happened to Hindley-Milner? How come nobody cares about Hindley-Milner anymore in this world? You know what I mean? Did we somehow... Is some of this somehow wrong or what? Speaking of Hindley-Milner, did you guys see that they have some kind of multi-core OCaml thing that exists now? It seems pretty neat. So interestingly, even the old test case is failing. I wonder if that's a bad thing. 10 years in the making. Multi-core OCaml. It's pretty exciting for sure. When I was in college, they were working on multi-core standard ML. There was something called Manticore. And Manticore was a multi-core ML system that I think like kind of worked, but I'm not sure. I think it was just more of a research language than a actual language that people could use. You were part of the group that started brainstorming it in 2004. That's pretty cool. Manticore did not have a global lock. No, it was actually, it had true concurrency. It might have been limited. It might have been like you can only do it using the parallel primitives or something. I remember it had some kind of like PMAP sort of thing, or I forget exactly. I have no idea, honestly. I was still pretty new to programming, so I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. What I did for them, I was a research assistant for them, and what I did was I implemented a performance monitoring system, or I sort of worked on it. Basically, they had this program that would do tracing of the concurrent program and give you kind of like the Go tool trace output. They had a little app that basically was Go tool trace for Manticore traces. And I worked on that and tried to make it a little bit better, but I definitely didn't understand what was going on under the hood to any extent. So it basically, it beats me what they were actually doing there. So if I run just test builder / unique checks insert, it's definitely a bit concerning that these are failing. I don't quite understand that. Is it always the same or what? Perhaps like something else changed. I think I should probably just rewrite this one too. So anyway, back to the rewrite flag, right? I think without doing a Go-based DSL that also had rewrite would be a big pain. And I don't think that it would be easy. So now, just by running with rewrite, it just sort of regenerates the file to have the output that actually happened. And this is useful for doing bigger scale changes. You wish people doing Oxide would use a functional language? Rust is pretty functional, yeah, isn't it? Rust is pretty functional. It doesn't like smell like a functional language necessarily, but it definitely is fairly functional as far as I understand. Okay, so let's just go ahead and rewrite our upsert test case, which is the other one that we modified. And now we have it. New test case. So it says, insert into unique on conflict on constraint, unique W do update set. And we just need to make sure that this unique W is in fact the arbiter constraint, and it is. So basically it looks good to me. This other stuff I'm not going to read because I don't think it's necessary to read. The end. Okay, so let's do get add 1, 2, 3. What else do we have in the comments here? Okay. Oops, I somehow missed that file. Test case added. Emphasis on pure. Add a similar test case. Okay, one more of these. Error while trying to select a partially unique without index constraint explicitly, which is not allowed. So it's the same idea, which is not allowed. Just grab this guy. Put it over here. Do update set. A is equal to 2. So let's go ahead and make sure that the tests are still working. I mean, even pure languages can have side effects, right? Even pure languages find a way to have side effects, don't they? Done. Okay, acknowledge. Well, I think that's all I needed to do. So hopefully I can repush this and then merge it. Did I have 2 commits for this? I did. Okay, so they all go into the second commit though. All right. Yeah, the in-place change, basically, you did miss it, but it's all right. It's just, you can run this command here that has a test flags equals rewrite. And what this does is it just edits the entire test file automatically so that each of the test outputs becomes exactly as each of the test expectations becomes what the outputs were. So if you do a big scale change and you have to change like 500 test files, you can just do it all at once by passing -rewrite rather than having to do it by hand, which you would probably have to do in a DSL, Go DSL based thing, or you'd have to write some complicated thing that like parsed the Go, edited it, and then rewrote it out, which would be a lot of effort probably. Maybe worth it, I don't know. Maybe worth it, I don't know. Okay, TFTR. Well, let's just wait until the tests run, maybe. I kind of want to stand up. I'm gonna raise my desk here. Hopefully nothing will break. I haven't stood on my standing desk since before I got COVID because I was feeling sort of tired. But now I'm feeling like I have a lot of energy, so I want to stand up. Yo, Calibite! Nice to see you. Thank you for joining and saying hello. But yeah, it was this balsa paper, which was about, to be honest, I didn't completely understand balsa. I was just looking at it because it got linked, but I will link it again. Balsa is about learned query optimizers, to some extent, somehow. Do I know more than that? No. I know that it's about learned query optimizers, and that's about it. But it does seem pretty neat. Zero learning. Is this kind of as a one-shot reinforcement learning or something like that? I have no idea what machine learning is or how to use it, but maybe this is a one-shot sort of thing, maybe. What's up, Mateus? And hello, Null Bitmap. Good to see you as well. One pass machine learning. Yeah, that sounds right. Sounds legit. Hey, we're machine learning engineers now. We're talking the talk. You're bearish on learned optimizers? Did you read this paper? I'm curious if you have a take on this particular paper. I definitely did not. On the join order benchmark, balsa matches the performance of two expert query optimizers, both open source and commercial, within 2 hours of learning. I thought this was supposed to be zero learning. I take it back. It's not no learning. It's no expert demonstrations. 2 hours of learning and outperforms them by 2.8x in workload runtime after a few more hours. I don't know what to say. They train the optimizer against the data set. So if the data distribution changes at all, you have to retrain. I mean, it's good for analytics databases, right? There's a lot of analytics databases out there that probably don't have too many changed data distributions, and maybe you can afford to run 2 hours worth of training on it for much faster queries. I don't know. It's probably not good for CockroachDB or any like semi-transactional databases that have data changes, but maybe there's use cases in data warehousing. Who knows about data warehousing? Not me. No hands up over here, but maybe if you know about them, maybe this is a good thing for that. I already know your queries. Very true. Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and see what else we're trying to do, right? This thing, I'm hoping that this thing will get test run and then we can merge it afterwards. But the other things that we had on our plate, there were a few other things. And what would those things be? What would those things be? Wanted to look at this thing, maybe. Wanted to look at this thing, maybe. They're trying to farm papers. You think they're just paper farmers? Just humble paper farmers trying to make a buck? A buck worth of papers? Okay, no responses on this yet. Okay. I will say gentle ping on this if you have some time to take a look. And then this guy, I'll say the same thing. You think that the ML plus optimizers, I hate anything new, so what I want to do. Yeah, that's fair. I was actually pretty excited about this one. So TLP actually had another oracle that we never used, which is a distinct oracle. And I added it, which seems exciting. I think, look, here's where my interests really are right now, you guys. I sort of said this a little bit earlier on the stream, but I really, really want to spend time making TLP or other forms of randomized testing like much, much better. I really want to do it. I started a little Twitter conversation about this last week, I think. And some people did send me some interesting work. I think it was maybe Manuel's co-author on the TLP paper. They sent me coverage directed, look at my search queries. Coverage directed testing DBMS archive. So there was this paper over here, which was kind of weird. Like, I'm not sure how good this paper really was, but it did reference the one that they sent me, which is called Squirrel. And Squirrel actually seems fairly interesting. So basically, let's see, Squirrel paper database. Squirrel is basically a paper that is trying to improve two things at once. One is that, so one major challenge with doing randomized testing or fuzzing in SQL is that it's very hard to generate. So normally with fuzzing, right, you kind of take a big byte string and you permute it little by little because you know that your algorithm is working on raw bytes, and like presumably you can change the raw bytes a little bit and it'll also change a little bit what the algorithm does, right? It's all based on sort of this like, it's almost like it's sort of like a continuity thing. It's like a, I don't know, a little change here makes a little change in the algorithm. But the problem is that there isn't such an easy way to change a SQL query. Let's imagine like a really deep tree of SQL that does all sorts of weird stuff. Like the question is, how do you do a small mutation to that SQL query, hoping to find new coverage, right? And that's kind of like one of the half of the equation of fuzzing. The other half is the gray box part, right? They call fuzzing gray box because, coverage-directed fuzzing gray box, because it's not simply changing the input little by little and hoping to find crashes just on its own. You're also getting feedback from the system under test. And the feedback that you're typically getting in the modern fuzzers is code coverage information. So the idea is you like make a little change, you observe the code coverage. If the code coverage changed significantly, it means that you've like found a new area to explore. So you typically like save that input and like start exploring from that input, trying to find new paths. And it's sort of this like tree walker machine that is using the mutation on the left side and then the coverage feedback on the right side. Now, what seems challenging to me in the database space is that you're missing both of those components. It's too difficult to do code coverage in a database, apparently, according to people, because the database is too large of a code base, typically. It certainly is in Cockroach, and presumably in most other databases is as well. So trying to infer like branching based on just ordinary line by line or basic block code coverage doesn't really seem to work that well. That's what the folks are saying in research. So you're missing that. And you're also missing the mutation, because you can't, like I was saying, you can't easily like tweak just a little bit of SQL. It's like challenging. You have this big tree. It's like, what do you exactly do? So I think what this paper was about was actually just the left side. It wasn't changing the code coverage, I don't think. It was just kind of proposing a mutation technique, I believe, for queries. So they designed an intermediate representation for SQL queries that represent them in structural and informative matter. To generate syntactically correct queries, we perform type-based mutations on the IR, including statement insertion, deletion, and replacement. We analyze each IR to identify the logical dependencies between arguments and generate queries that satisfy those dependencies. So it's sort of like an advanced query generator. But then at the same time, I believe what they were doing is still using like coverage feedback, like ordinary coverage feedback. And then in the end, what they said was that like it didn't really help that much or something like that. I don't know if that was in this paper, but you see, okay, so on the right-hand side of the screen, which is sort of hidden, let me fix that. So on the right-hand side of the screen, recent software testing practice widely adopts code coverage to guide mutation-based fuzzing. However, during our evaluation, we find potentially harmful code coverage that hinders the generation of semantics correct queries. Especially at the beginning of testing, grammar incorrect queries trigger many new branches in the fault handling code. The coverage-based feedback guides Squirrel to focus on those inputs instead of the original semantics correct queries. Recent works for fuzzing language compilers and interpreters mention a similar observation. We plan to investigate this problem and develop solutions to mitigate it, like dropping inputs that trigger new branches and short executions. So this is interesting. To me, this is saying that like maybe code coverage isn't really the metric that you should be searching for actually, and you really should be searching for something a lot less granular, like optimizer rule coverage or execution engine node coverage, or some of these like database specific, what do you call them? Entities, I guess, or objects. Like imagine you had a fuzzer that was paying attention to just some of these things: optimizer rules, execution engine nodes, distribution plans, like making it even more a little bit more gray, so to speak, or pushing it towards the transparent side of the gray box. I think that could be really cool. I don't know. I think that all this stuff is really hard is the other thing that's interesting to me. It's like, it seems to be right at the edge of research, and I don't think anybody's really figured it out. And so that's why it excites me, right? It's like, it's kind of like a, what do you call it? An interesting and rich place to do some research and thought.
I don't know what psychotic means, really, clinically. You know, I don't know. Nervous?
So Kelly is asking a big question. What,
Oh, really?
Cockroach might approach more and more analytics features similar to timescale. You think that clustering membership geo-awareness is rock solid, really enjoy using it compared to other technology. Oh, thanks, Callie. That's nice. I'd love to see it evolve, like how timescale is adding things to the fastest ClickHouse. Yeah, that's a good question. I think personally, as a human, one of the coolest parts of Cockroach that I've found while working at the company for the last 5 years has been some of the more, to be honest, like some of the more analytics focused stuff, right? Like the team that I've spent a lot of time working with, what we call the SQL queries team, which is about the optimizer and execution engine stuff. Like really, enhancements to the optimizer and the execution engine are almost always going to benefit analytics queries a lot more than transactional queries. Like when you think of a transactional database, if you think about like a pure transactional database, whatever that is, you're thinking like, okay, each query is going to last like, milliseconds, and it's going to do point lookups only, and it's not going to do any analytics, right? So in a sense, like the fact that we were investing so heavily into execution engine and optimizer, is saying that, well, we find that our customers and people who use CockroachDB need at least analytics light capabilities. But the truth is that, anything that helps analytics light also helps analytics. And so, I don't know, it's a roundabout way of answering your question, but I don't think that, we're going to have a big focus on like data warehousing style stuff, right? That's never going to be a focus for the database, data warehousing. But we do really want to keep focusing on that like middle ground, general purpose database, analytics light kind of stuff. Yeah, so different storage orientation, right? So one project that like is particularly interesting to me that I do think that we will work on at some point. It's not in the near future, but yeah, don't leak this. No leaking to Gawker. One thing that I do think that we want to work on. Okay, how about this, guys? How about this? These are my personal opinions and not those, not opinions of the company. How about that? But anyway, I think one project that I do want to be focusing on, at least in the medium term, in the next couple of years, is adding that sort of PAX batch semi-columnar orientation storage stuff that like, Spanner did with Resi and whoever made PAX up. And I think a lot of databases are doing this right now. So it's sort of like not a column store thing where everything is column oriented, but sort of that halfway in between things. So you're sort of storing column oriented chunks of some size on disk, you deserialize them, and you can do, right now in Cockroach, what we do is everything's row by row storage, optimized for writes kind of, but when we pull it out, we flip it and make it semi-columnar. So we have these chunks of columnar data, and that's what we call the sort of vectorized execution engine. And that's really good for, analytics light stuff, honestly. It sounds expensive to do all the flipping, but it's actually not compared to doing what the row at a time engine has to do. And so for me, the completion of that project would be to push that semi-columnar storage that's currently sort of in memory only all the way down to the storage level. And I do think that we will probably do that, though it isn't going to be this year, and probably not next year either. So to me, it's sort of one of these like 3-year out projects that I personally, as a person, want to do. Anyway, yeah. That's cool. No, that's good to hear. I'm glad. That's some nice feedback, so I appreciate that. Always nice to see it. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's all sorts of interesting stuff there, too. Like, I don't know. You know, I've heard some things about like using LSM merging, like LSM merge time, right? That's like a magic moment in the life cycle of a piece of data in an LSM database. Because you have this moment at which you're like, okay, I'm going to rewrite all the data. It happens all the time because you're taking these blocks and merging them together and then rewriting them to disk. So it's like, what can you do during that LSM merge time that you kind of get for free, right? It's sort of this like amortization. It's like an amortized thing where it's like, you're gonna do these asynchronous things, you're doing them anyway. So like, what other junk can you jam in there? And I think the cool thing to do is to do that flipping from row at a time to semi-columnar, to do that at the LSM merge time. That just seems sweet. I think, I don't exactly know if that's like what people actually do. I haven't really worked on the storage engine myself, so I could be kind of just making stuff up right now. But it sort of seems like that could be an opportune moment to do some of this transformation without affecting the, you know, hot path OLTP stuff too much. Because if you think about it, right, if you're thinking about like, okay, you're gonna write one row, and you don't want to like make these chunks really small. You don't want to make like a semi-columnar batch with one row in it. So the question is like, when do you do that merging, given the fact that we have this LSM architecture? And presumably you do it at merge time. So I don't know. That's my take. In Postgres, these things are exposed as diff table types? Oh, different table types. Does Postgres even have this stuff? Postgres column store? Swarm 64. This is like some other. This seems sort of more like a proposal. Citus 10. Oops. Citus 10 brings columnar branch to Postgres. Citus columnar, one of the big new features in Citus. Heap. Simple row, simple columnar. Okay, so maybe there's something that Citus does for this. Timescale. Oh, right, timescale. I forgot that we were talking about timescale. Timescale uses a different table type than the create table statement with valid syntax. Other end of the spectrum is people running Flink on data already sorted in types of columns. Yeah, Flink. Flink, I hear, is like some pretty cool stuff, right? I don't know too much about it. One thing is I do feel like I've gotten like a bit isolated. I feel like, you know, I've been working on just this database for like 5 years. And before, I feel like I had a better sense of like, what are the things in the ecosystem that are popular right now? And I feel like my spidey sense for what's popular in the ecosystem has been like dropping, and which is not great, I would say. You don't want to get too specialized. Yeah. Citus, wow, this guy looks super happy. Look how happy this guy looks to be using Citus columnar. One day I hope to be this happy about anything. Just kidding. I'm usually a pretty happy guy. But Postgres can connect to another storage using foreign data wrappers. That is probably true, but I don't think that foreign data wrappers are actually about storage engine. I think that foreign data wrapper is literally just like, it gives you access to another database using the normal database interfaces. I don't think it's like low level or anything like that, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's too high level, right? This guy's happy because he's part of Microsoft. Okay, well, I don't know. What should I do? I feel like this thing got kicked over the line. These things didn't get any responses yet. I guess I could look at move. Should I look at move? I don't know. Like mix on this. Maybe I'll just look at this because I kind of at least know how to do it. Let's just do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this guy out, and we can see how it goes. So git checkout SQL cursors. I'm gonna rebase this. People doing Kafka, Pulsar, Red Panda, and the like are moving towards tiered storage when the cold data is moved to S3 after it's processed for analytics. Dude, speaking of Red Panda though, Red Panda I feel like is blowing up. I love Red Panda. I love the Red Panda people. They're so friendly, and I feel like they have a good situation going on. It seems like they're having a lot of success. I hope they're doing well. But it seems like a really good thing. You're doing tiered storage with Kafka. So I think Red Panda is basically like a fast Kafka replacement. I think Red Panda is to Kafka like ScyllaDB was to Cassandra, is my summary. But they're probably doing more than that now. But I think that that's what they started out doing. It's also called vectorized sometimes. I think maybe like Red Panda is the company and vectorized is the product or something. I don't know. I haven't played around with it myself, but it's the same project and the same people and everything. Is vectorized the company or is Red Panda the company? Like, this is the thing that I always get backwards. I know it is like too much to keep up with. I think that they need to switch to having just one name because otherwise it's like extremely confusing. Okay, vectorized is the company and Red Panda is the product. There you go. Now you know. Now you know. What's up, Domas? Okay, so let's go ahead and just at least make build short this guy. And then I can show off what these cursors are all about, and then we can maybe make a little enhancement to them. The cursors project, you know, I've been kind of hacking on this thing for a couple of weeks, I guess about a month. And I think it's basically ready to go, but there's maybe more to add, and we can try it out. I would like to merge this before I merge anything else on cursors, but maybe we can make the next thing like a separate PR or something like that. Not get too crazy. Okay, so if I run Cockroach demo, and just to show off basically what the idea of cursors are real quick. So if I make a little table, create table A. Oh, you know what I learned? You know how I'm usually doing this thing where it's like create table as, and I say generate series, or select G+1 from generate series, blah, blah, blah. I learned a little nice trick, which is that you can actually just do this like a cross join, and it generates more interesting data. So if I do generate series 1 to 1,000, comma, generate series like 1 to 5 or something like that. Or we'll maybe make 10,000 and 5. Like this is, oops. I don't know. I think this is kind of like a neat way of generating fake integer data. Select star from A, limit 100. Okay, it didn't work. I think I need to explicitly say cross join maybe. Drop table A. Let's try again. There we go. So this is kind of neat, right? You get the little repeated patterns. Everything's 1 through 5. Everything's 2 to 2, 3 to 3. So it's kind of nice. Nice little quick way to make some data. Anyway, so let's go ahead and make a little cursor. So what's a cursor about? Begin transaction. One of the weird thing about these cursors is that they have to be inside of transactions, which is a little inconvenient, especially if you make a mistake and you got to restart your transaction. But anyway, that's fine. So we're going to say declare cursor, declare foo as cursor from, select star from A. Is that how it works? Okay, this is another problem with this in general, is that I never remember the actual syntax. So now I've got to roll back. I've got to say begin again. And then let's try to, I thought it was declare, it was maybe just declare foo cursor from. For, maybe? Okay, this is called engineer pretends to create SQL when engineer doesn't even know SQL in the first place. Is it for? There we go. So I've got something called a cursor. And a cursor I can say fetch 5 from foo. And it gives me data from the table without having to redo the query every time. You know, it's a cursor, right? It's like a little paginator. But I can also do other things in between, right? I can say select, 10. I can say select count star from A, and then I should be able to continue using my cursor as it was. And I can actually even insert into the table. Insert into A values 1,000 to 1,000, whatever. And then this cursor actually will not end up seeing these changes that I made. That's sort of part of the contract of a cursor, which is known as the insensitivity property, which is a very silly thing to call this, but it is what it is. So if I say fetch all from foo, it won't show me that giant value that I inserted. So that's kind of the idea of cursors. And I wanted to add maybe one other little feature to them. Neat ideas on where I can put my mail logs plus append plus aggregate them. Can Cockroach be used for that? I would say so. I think anytime that you're thinking about using any sort of database, relational database kind of thing for a general purpose project, I think CockroachDB is a great fit. There's a pretty easy way to get started with Cockroach these days, which is Cockroach Serverless, which is sort of a free forever product up to a certain amount of usage. So you get I think it's 5 gigabytes of data for free and a certain number of request units per month, which if you're used to other serverless products, it's kind of the same idea. We measure the usage and you're only paying for what you use, and if you keep it below a certain amount of usage, it's free. So that is that idea. Anyway, so what did I want to add to cursors though? So there's another form for cursors. So I can say close foo at this point. And if I make the cursor again, normally what I can also say, instead of just fetch 10 foo, there's all sorts of different forms. I can say fetch relative 3 foo, and that'll move it forwards, and then fetch 1. Or I can say fetch absolute, like 50 foo. I can only move it forward in this implementation. I didn't implement buffering that you would need to go backwards, but there's another form which is called move. So I should be able to say move 50 foo, but I didn't implement that yet. So I was thinking maybe I could go ahead and do that just to kind of keep pushing this project a little bit forward. Speaking of mmap, just saw this in my feed. Yeah, I think this was what Safe was referencing. Safe was referencing this paper when we were joking about mmap. This is the new thing. The new lols joke from Andy Pavlo. Who, if you didn't know him, he's a giant troll, but also a smart database researcher. So they go together. Trolls and database researchers, I guess. It's a birds of a feather kind of thing. So, right. That's the idea of move. So I think we could go ahead and start playing around with this guy by doing what? So the first thing, let's see. I guess there's a couple of things to do here. What kind of components do you have to touch to implement move? Well, it should be actually pretty contained. Because all of the infrastructure for the cursors themselves is already built. I think it's really just I've got to edit the grammar in order to add the statement. I've got to maybe thread that through a bunch of stuff. And then probably what I'll do is teach the same operator that does fetch to do move just by changing its parameters because they're really very similar. Fetch and move, like they do exactly the same thing, except fetch actually returns data and move does not. So I think I should probably be able to implement it just by editing this fetch operator, which is why it's sort of an attractive little project because it's probably fairly straightforward. But the first thing to do is actually look at the grammar. And so here's the statement. I happened to jump right to the right line because I was just messing with this probably on the last stream. This is where we have a sort of section for what the grammar for declare looks like, and there's a matching one somewhere for the grammar for fetch, which is maybe called fetch cursor statement. And a fetch cursor statement is you say fetch and then a fetch specifier. And I think that what we can do for move cursor, I'm guessing, is that we probably want to do something like this. And I have to check what Postgres is doing to make sure that we're implementing the right stuff, but I am fairly sure we're just going to be able to go like this and reuse the grammar that we made for fetch on the last stream. And then we can say something like $.val is equal to 2.fetch cursor. But then what we would do is probably say something like, you know, this guy, which is a tree.statement, or this thing returns what? This returns a fetch cursor. I think what we should probably do is just say, like, add a field to the fetch cursor that says like $.val dot like move is equal to true or something like this. And then presumably we can like just do everything else the same and notice it at runtime. That's kind of my plan. And we'll see how it actually goes. But so let's see. So the first thing is we'll need to make a little documentation string for this as well. In a CMU video course he was doing in his parking lot and somebody pepper sprays him. That's probably a joke. Like it's almost, I'd say it's like 100% likely to be a joke.
Database.
What's up, Markham? And hi, Naga. So .y is a YAC file. So there's a lot of different parser generators out there in the world, but the old school one is called YAC or Bison. Bison, I think maybe was like a GNU rewrite or something like this.
Hooked into over 1,000 data
This
banks
particular, we use GoYAC, which is like another implementation of YAC or Bison, and I think this is maybe called BNF, right? Is that the name of the general language that people use to specify grammars? I don't know. YAC. It's old school, man. It's definitely one of these old things. But yet another compiler. Bacchus Nor. There you go. Thank you, undefined. Do they say anything about BNF in here though? I feel like they don't. They're just like, yeah, we're just YAC. We're like AT&T people. We're just gonna make something up and like, you know, we're defining computer science back here and whenever this was done. That's kind of how I feel about these people. But anyway. So let's see, move a SQL cursor without fetching rows. Antler is what I use in Java. So Antler I think is a bit different. Antler is like, it's like a different, it has different capabilities. If I recall correctly, it's like, you know, parsers, there's a whole theory of parsers, like are they LR or RL or LOLer or whatever. Like I don't really remember how any of this stuff works, but I do think that Antler is probably an LR parser, right? That's probably why it's called Antler. And YAC is probably something slightly different they have different limitations or they have more or less power or whatever. I took a whole course on this in college, but that was like over 10 years ago at this point. So rip to me. I am now old, I guess. I'm now one of those people say that I was in college 10 years ago. So that's what I've become. Pretty cool stuff. So we're gonna, let's just move on from that. So we're gonna say move direction name. C also closer declare. And I guess this should also be C also move close declare. 30 is for you. All right. But you're still keeping up, man. You're on Twitch. You're hanging out with programmers on Twitch, so that's a good sign. keep that brain young. Keep the brain full of memes. It's the way to stay alive, maybe. I should be asking you, what are the tips to staying alive? I don't know. Don't get COVID. Yeah. So let's see, we'll go over to our fetch cursor. What is it called? So here's our little execution node for this. Wait a minute. We need to be not looking at this execution node. We need to be looking at the AST node for this thing, which is called fetch cursor. So maybe we should just call this represents a fetch or move statement. Something like that, and we can say move bool. If true, this is a move statement and not a fetch. If false, this is a fetch statement. Let's actually just go ahead and double check. So Postgres, SQL, I think I saw it. Don't do C++ and you'll always be healthy mentally. All right, noted. I will take that into advice. So fetch. So I literally think that these things are identical, except one's called fetch and one's called move. They have all of the same things.
The data bank's too big. I have to narrow down the search. How are you going to do that?
So yeah, I think we can. Move works exactly like fetch, except it only positions the cursor and does not use return rows. They're identical. And it returns a command tag instead of a...
Computer's hooked into over 1,000 data banks throughout the world.
Result set, I would say. All right, well, thanks guys for the follows, by the way. By the way, definitely try to join the Discord. If you want to hang out, chat more with other database freaks, definitely hop into the Discord and say hello. Keep the conversation going outside of the stream. Trying to grow the Discord. So basically what we're going to do here is what? We're going to say it can be a move, it can be a fetch. And another thing that I would say is that I have to be a bit careful because when we actually look at the type of this guy, now I'm a little worried actually, because if I go to this fetch cursor node, I think that this is actually where we also say what type of statement it is. Yeah. It can either be a rows or a daemon. It has to be a fetch. Okay, so I actually think that I need to make a different AST node for this, but that's okay. We can have them share the same underlying structure. So let's make a new type called like fetch. Well, maybe call it like cursor op or something. Cursor statement, struct. We'll give it all of this stuff. And then a fetch cursor is basically going to be a cursor statement, and a move cursor is going to be a cursor statement. So this way we can sort of have them share the same structure without having to be the same actual type, or move cursor rather. See you later, Somoni. See you next time. Clear names in the code, but shared base structure. That's the idea. That's the hope. It's kind of weird. Let's just assume that everybody knows that fetch could also be move. I think it's probably, hopefully clear. I suppose we could also change the name of this fetch type thing to be like cursor movement type rather than a fetch type. But do I actually need to do that? I don't know. Yak and Bison handle LALR grammars and Antler handles LL grammars. This is one of the biggest differences between them. There you go. It's kind of funny that Antler would be an LL grammar, even though it says LR at the end. Maybe that's just sort of a little in joke. We'll leave the name of this type alone for the time being, and we can always come back and fix it if it remains confusing. Sorry, got something caught in my throat there. Anyway, okay, so the next step that we have to do here is coming back over to our SQL.y, and I guess one slightly awkward thing, I guess like this fetch specifier guy should be, instead of returning a fetch cursor, I think it should be returning a cursor statement, which also means that this needs to be exported, unfortunately, but that's fine. Cursor statement represents the shared structure between a fetch and move statement. So we're going to come back over here and make it so that our fetch specifier is actually going to be returning a, what did I call it? Cursor statement, cursor, and it does need to still be a pointer, or no, it wants to be a value now. It wants to be a value now. So we're going to make this a cursor statement. Fetch specifier, and why don't we also change this to be a cursor movement specifier or something. And then this little guy, let's also call this needs to be changed again, so it's going to be returning a tree dot cursor statement. Tree dot cursor statement, and we can return this as a, so this is part of Yak. That's gross. It's like we're writing Go, but it's like in the Yak file. Very nasty, no syntax highlighting, very unfortunate for everybody. We'll just call this cursor statement. So then what we get to do is say something like this. Instead of just returning like this, we're going to say this is going to be a tree dot fetch cursor, and this is a little bit more inline Go, and we get to say cursor statement is the cursor statement like this. And I think that will probably make us sort of good to go here, hopefully. Cursor statement. So then we'll do the same thing for move, except it'll of course be a a move cursor instead of a fetch cursor. And then I think that's that basically, except we've got to also add a type for the move cursor statement up here. And we've got to add this to the top level productions. Like so. And I think that's all we have to do, but we'll see. For the grammar, that is. These also have to be references, pointers or whatever. And let's make it look like this. Oh, and then the last thing is that this guy has to actually, we have to change all of these. These all have to become values and they have to say cursor statement. So we can go ahead and do that with a little search and replace. So this has to become replace fetch cursor with cursor statement. Oh, what did I do? I put another slash in there, something like that. Replace fetch cursor with cursor statement. We also have to get rid of these ampersands because we changed whether it was a value or a non-value. So we'll just go ahead and do that real quick as well. It's a little gross, but I've seen grosser. I have seen grosser. Okay. All right, at this point, the next step is going to be to go and add types in our statement, giant list of statements to tell you what the type of the statement is that a move cursor is. So we're going to go ahead and add cases for these. So move cursor is going to be, instead of a rows, this is the big difference between move and fetch, is that fetch actually returns rows and move actually just returns what we call a tag or a command tag. And so what that has to be, that's like a Postgres wire protocol thing. So I think if I just return ACK here, What this means is that I'm not going to be expecting any rows with any types. I'm just going to be returning a tag, a statement tag. And the statement tag for this is going to be called move. And I think that we also need to figure out, so there's some other thing that I saw up here where it says, it returns a command tag of the form move and count. So count is the number of rows that a fetch command with the same parameters would have returned, possibly 0. So this is kind of interesting that we'll have to figure out how to make this work, which is a little bit bespoke, I would say, a little odd. We don't have too many other commands like this that return a number, but we can certainly add it. We can certainly add it. So why don't we go ahead, let's see, what's the next step at this point? Next step at this point, I'm just gonna sort of follow the example of what I did for fetch. We've got to do format thing. So one interesting thing is that we can continue to extract some of the shared structure. So since these things are going to be identical for both fetch and move, I think what I can do is extract this whole thing into a func C cursor statement format, CTX, format context, and then have this sort of delegate like so. So then what I say is, when I see a fetch cursor, I'm going to say, I'm going to write, this is sort of what, basically this is like formatting the AST nodes back into a string. So I can say fetch, and then I'm going to say f dot cursor statement dot format of CTX. And I think that will sort of do the trick there. And then I'll do the same thing for my move cursor. Except I'm going to write move. And that is that. Thanks a lot, Miguel. Hope to see you next time. Have a good weekend as well. Okay, so then next up we got this pretty.go thing, which is it's kind of a similar thing, another way of doing AST formatting that's meant for a slightly different purpose. So we're going to say func node. We'll do the same thing, cursor statement, doc. Like a pretty dot none or something, pretty dot nil. So then I'm going to say return pretty dot concat space. I can probably just inline this thing. Well, node dot cursor statement dot doc of p. Or we can just go ahead and inline this, make it a little bit simpler. I'll do the same thing for move cursor. Okay. So then the next is to sort of plumb it into the optimizer, which in this case, we sort of do a pass-through kind of thing because we're not really letting the optimizer have to do anything. So I like to do these alphabetically. Move cursor. I was like struggling to remember what the alphabet looks like, which sometimes happens to me. Does anybody else have to like sing the alphabet in their head a little bit to remember like the order of the letters? I have that. I feel like that's one of my like major deficiencies. Like I cannot figure out which letter comes before or after which, unless they're like really obvious ones. Like A, B, C, D, I feel like I know that those are at the beginning. But the other ones, I'm like, G could be anywhere, honestly. Like M, I don't know. Where is that? O? I have to sort of just like remember the whole thing. It's like really embarrassing. Oh well. Okay, so then we were we did that. We did that. Add it to this list of stuff. And then the last step is actually implementing the execution node, which should be pretty straightforward because it's like going to be, you know what I should really do is probably just give this guy an argument that says is move bool. I think the main complication here is actually going to be implementing that statement tag business. Okay. What now? We're going to go over here, and then instead of just saying fetch cursor, we're going to say fetch cursor false is move. And I'm going to get a lozenge. I think I don't know what I did to my throat, but it's kind of bothering me. I'll be right back. All right, I got a Ricola. Do people say Ricola or Ricola? I don't know. Move cursor does not implement tree.statement. It doesn't? Oh, it's because I didn't finish doing this thing. Oh wait, yes I did. Oh, that's weird. What's up, Burrito Shake? Taking the first steps of learning to program. At school we were learning about bits and bytes and confusing the two. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. That's understandable, right? It's like bits and bytes. Why do you have to memorize the difference? Or like, they have a similar name. That's not, it's kind of one of these things that you can't really infer. You just have to like remember it. Definitely, that's definitely something. You'll get it though. You'll remember. What is wrong with this? It does not implement tree.statement, and why is that? Why does it not? Confused. Let's go ahead and just run this through the compiler and see what it kind of tells us. Whoops. Move is not defined. Okay, so first of all, I've got to actually add a non-terminal. I've got to add a new keyword to the grammar. I forgot about that. So move comes at the end over here. And then we've also got to give it a spot in this big list of other stuff, which is called the unreserved keyword list. Move. All right, let's try one more time here. Okay, so impossible type switch case. Statement cannot have dynamic type. Star move cursor missing string method. Oh. So that's a basic one. That is a basic one that I forgot. So I think somewhere in here there's a giant list of string statements maybe? Yeah, okay. So move statement, move cursor. Okay, I think that will hopefully have fixed the problem. Let's find out. Looking forward to understanding what you're doing. I believe we're going to start SQL in summer. Very cool. SQL is a good language to learn for sure. I feel like SQL is one of those, like, I feel like it should be a core skill for a CS student or just people who do programming in general. I feel like SQL, it's kind of the lingua franca for databases for whatever reason. Like, yes, it's a little old, it's a little crusty. You have to write everything in all capital letters, but it's stuck around for a really long time, and there's probably a good reason for that. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of one of these core competencies, and it'll really help you, even if you're not even a programmer. If you're like, you know, working on data analysis or working on trying to understand business stuff, it's almost certain that you'll have some kind of SQL database full of junk that you need to analyze, and having a little bit of basic SQL competency will really go a very long way for you in your career, no matter what you're doing, I feel like. So what's wrong with this? Oh, fetch cursor. This is supposed to be okay, so the last thing I have to change is that instead of having a fetch cursor, this actually has to be a cursor statement. And then we pass in the little inner guy instead of the outer guy, like so. And then I think we maybe should be good, hopefully. Underappreciated. Absolutely. By the way, thanks for saying hello, Kaibo. Helium Factory first started programming debugging a 300-line SQL statement. Okay, that is a interesting way of getting your start. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but it's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if any of this actually works, which I sort of doubt. So let's make a little table. We're gonna make a transaction. We're gonna make a cursor. We're gonna say move foo. Move by foo. Okay, I'm guessing this is gonna crash the database, but we'll find out. It didn't crash the database. Okay, so we're at 11.2, and if I say move to foo, I should expect to see that my next fetch is gonna be 11.5. So if that's working well, I feel like we did it. Wow, magic. Okay, so this was actually fairly straightforward. I think there's still something that's broken though, which is that this needs to have a number that comes after it, which is, like I was saying, it's going to be the hardest part because it's very atypical to have one of these statements that returns a tag with a number at the end. Normally we only do that for mutations, and this is like a weird special case. The reason this was so easy was that, like, it's exactly the same logic as fetch, just without returning any rows. So I kind of cheated a little bit. That's why it was so quick. But I think that this next part might be kind of tricky, honestly, because I don't even know where we do that stuff, actually. Like, I think it's like somewhere in the wire protocol. Let's take a look at, what is that called? Con.go, maybe? If I search for tag, cook tag. Oh, it's rows affected, right? It's not act. That's the thing. There actually is a special tag for this that I forgot about. So maybe it won't be that bad. If I go back over here. Oop, that is out of date. What's up, M. Laswick? How's it going? So I'll say commands, edit, project. Right now I'm adding move support to CockroachDB cursors. And I'll link the, well, I'll just link this PR. This is kind of like the Uber PR. But hope you're doing well, friend. Good to see you. After a couple of weeks off due to COVID. Standard move? Definitely not standard move. Definitely something completely different. Let's see. What was I just doing? Oh yeah, so I think over here, if I change the statement tag to be rows affected, then like maybe now it'll crash instead of just working and doing the wrong thing. Let's find out. Thanks for the nice tweet, Kelabite, if you're still there. Appreciate that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create a table, make a cursor, fetch, oh crap, abort, begin, declare, fetch. Okay, so now if I say move 10 foo, okay, so it still does nothing, but I'm not still getting the rows affected stuff hooked up, which sort of makes sense because I didn't like pass a number anywhere. And I guess I need to figure out a way to do that. So cook tag, if I see a rows affected, then I make a tag and I append an int, and the int is coming from this thing, and this is coming from rows affected, and rows affected is coming from something in command result, which is weird. Increment rows affected. Okay, so this is like a weird special thing. We actually just find out to row sources set up to handle ensuring the last stage of the pipeline will return a single column row with the row candidate. So just grab that and exit. So I guess like maybe what I need to do is make this plan different. Instead of like making the plan have the shape of the actual row, it just make it have an integer at the end and just like return the number of number of rows that we processed. Maybe that would be a thing that works. What's up, Claytro? We do use gRPC for basically everything, every kind of internal communication in Cockroach, like node-to-node communication of every sort uses gRPC. Additionally, we use gRPC to do the communication between Cockroach and its front end. So if you go to what we call the DB console, or the little like website thing that has observability and other good stuff, and graphs and whatnot, that's attached to each of your Cockroach nodes. That front end actually communicates to the back end using gRPC over HTTP or something like that, if I recall correctly. So basically we use gRPC for everything that is node-to-node communication at Cockroach. I think with no exception. I think it's all gRPC everywhere. Some still hit memory limit? Huh. Well, as you know, I do like poking at those things. So if it's a new repro, I'm definitely happy to take a look or pass that around to people. The ones that don't work are not the highest priority. Okay, well, yeah, happy to chat about those whenever you do have a repro. Okay. So how are we going to set this up? I don't think it's going to be that hard, but we just need to be... I think basically there's something where we declare the type of the output, right? See this values. See this next. But there's somewhere where we like declare the result types. And that's what we would need to mess with. Oh, maybe that's some method that lives somewhere else on this thing. Ah. Okay. So basically, I think what we should do here is kind of, we can just say, let's see, return n dot, we just say return n dot types, then we can implement it in the file itself rather than right here. So we'll say types returns the result columns for this fetch node. So we're going to say if f dot is move, otherwise we return f dot cursor dot types. Yeah, I'm still like a little bit confused about how this works. Let's make sure that we really completely understand it. Like, I don't know. Something about this does seem a little bit weird, to be honest. Although, like, how can this work? I don't get it. I'm definitely confused. If the statement type is not equal to rows, and the rows can be rows affected or rows or DDL or ACK or whatever. So it does seem like it should be getting to this stage, but I feel like if it were, we would be panicking here because, oh, or it's just getting lucky because we happen to be using integers. I bet that's what it's doing. Okay, let's try to crash the database. We're gonna say create table a text, and create table B a text, insert into B values foo, and then I bet if I say something like begin declare cursor, declare first cursor for a select star from B, and then I say move foo 1. This should hopefully, or just move 1 foo. This should probably crash. Hopefully crash. Okay, it didn't crash. That is very suspicious, and I don't know what's going on. But maybe we'll get there. Okay, let's jump back to our implementation and just like try to push through this, and we'll maybe figure out what's going on. Maybe we could use the debugger if we get confused. So if it's a move, we're literally just going to return result. I don't know, man. I'm very lost actually, because if I go back over here, do we have anything for insert node? Yeah, so like for example, insert node has a bunch of columns. Columns is set if this insert is returning any rows. It may not be returning any rows. So maybe what I need to do is literally just return nil in this case, and then it'll look for something else maybe. Let's try this and we'll see where it gets us. So we're gonna return no column types, and what we need to do here, yeah, you know, it's really quite confusing, isn't it? Like, do I need to do all of my work if I'm a move node inside of the first next? Is that how it kind of works? It doesn't seem like it, because when I did this before, so like abort, begin, and I say something like declare for select star from A, which has a bunch of rows in it, and I say, you know, fetch 10 foo. You know, this is giving me chunks of data in tens. But if I say move 5 foo, it does seem to actually move me the right amount. Like if I move 100 foo, fetch 1 foo, this does seem to advance me by the right amount. And what I'm confused about is like, that implies that we're doing this stuff in a loop, because the way that this code is implemented is you have to keep nexting it to get another row. And so like somebody is continuing to next this thing until it's empty. And I don't get where that's happening. Wonder if it's happening here actually. If our node is a fast path node, it means that we're set up to just return a row count. So trigger that fast path and return the row count as a row with a single column. Maybe this is what I'm actually missing, and I need to kind of implement this. That's very possible. And when does this get passed in? I don't know why this stuff is so confusing. Use fast path is true if it's plan is equal to 1 and the statement type is rows affected. Okay, so I think this is probably what I'm missing. So in order to implement this fast path, I have to say, what is this? This just has a fast path results. So I think I just grab this, basically go to my fetch node, SQL cursor.go, and go ahead and implement it over here. So I guess there's actually a way to do this inside of the editor, isn't there? You can kind of do movement interface and then search for fast path, whatever. Fast path results implements the fast path node interface. All right. So I'll stick this down over here. And so what do we do when we get this fast path message? We essentially so there's all these different cases here because we've all of these different types of fetches, and I do think we kind of have to have all of this logic. I suppose we could just keep nexting ourselves, right? That seems like a very simple thing to do. On the other hand, you know, what's also interesting is that like, we could make this even more efficient by avoiding like copies and stuff like that, because we know we're not going to use the data, but that seems kind of extra. So I probably won't try to do that. I probably won't try to do that. I think what we should do is probably just, our fast path will just run our little next thing in a loop. And that's just what it's going to do. So I guess what we say here is, the only thing that is confusing, I will say, is that like, I actually do think that if there is no fast path, that's what we're supposed to be doing anyway, right? Yeah, it's right here. If we have no fast path to trigger, fall back to counting the rows by nexting our source until exhaustion. So actually, I don't need to do this, and I don't get that. I think what we need to do is probably see if these things are getting triggered or not, to make sure, right? So let's get rid of this. Sorry, I'm definitely going all over the place because I'm deeply confused. We're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna go over here. Why don't we just print out over here, format.println, making plan node to row source, and then fast path. And then if we do have a fast path that we claim, we're going to say format.println, falling back to row counting. And then we should also probably print out the name of the actual node here, so we can say p.node.type or whatever, reflect.type of. And we'll do the same thing in the other print that we added. Who likes print line debugging, by the way? I love print line debugging. It's the one true way. We're gonna say, we call this source. All right. I don't really mean that. It's not the one true way, but in certain cases, it's a lot easier than popping up in the debugger. Okay, so we'll run cdemo. Oh gosh, okay. This is the sort of thing where it's like, well, now I've got a huge amount of crap, and this is why you can't easily use the debugger, because you would hit these breakpoints every time, and it would be annoying. So we're gonna make a create table. We're gonna make a begin, declare, abort. Create table, the other one. Begin, declare, fetch one foo. So now we're gonna do move one foo, see what we get. So move one foo says making plan node to row stores and then falling back to row counting. So that actually seems good. So then the question now is like, why doesn't the number get propagated correctly here? And that's kind of like hopefully the last question we have to answer before we're gonna be good to go. Let's print it out over here. So print line found count and then count. And then in theory, we actually do return this whole thing with the right type and everybody. And then like, yeah, we should be sort of good at this point. So why is it not working? Increment rows affected. So why don't we add some prints here? So format that print line, push is pushing rows affected, pushing non-rows. We can print out the r.statement type, and then the int itself. Okay, so we'll try again. Now we get way more output and it's out of control, but that's fine. So we're gonna create our table. We'll begin, we'll declare, we'll fetch, we'll move. So found count 1 seems good. And if I say move, I can barely read what I'm typing. Move 10 foo, I found count 10. Okay, so that's great. So then why is this guy still not getting the output properly? I still don't know that. Maybe, So why would that not be? So why would this not be doing the right thing then? It seems like it would be doing the right thing. Seems like it would be doing the right thing. Send a completion message specific to the type of result. What if there's like a special case for the mutation tags and we're just like, well, I guess we should definitely print out over here. Format.println, cooking tag, tag stir, statement type, rows affected, maybe? Let's just see if we're actually getting this far even. Okay, so even more spammy output now probably. So we're gonna say create, we're gonna say begin, we're gonna say declare, we're gonna say move. Cooking tag, move, rows affected 10. Okay, so it is working even further than we're expecting, and yet still nothing. So just to make sure, if I say insert into a values, then a bunch of stuff, do I actually get back a tag? Yeah, I do get this insert, right? Cooking tag insert, and then we're say, let's try an update. Update a set a is equal to 1 where a is equal to 1. Update 5. So that seems to be working okay as well. I wonder if there's like a weird special case somewhere that's like literally parsing these tags. Like maybe in our CLI, maybe it's like a CLI issue. So I think there's a file called sql.go in the CLI. Is there something where we look at tags or something? Like when we say cook tag, then we literally just like send it. We like literally just write it over the network. So I think it has to be something on the client side that's busted. What if it's libpq? What if it's like the driver that we use? Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be super, super fun? What if it's libpq? Okay, let's actually just validate. It might be libpq, in which case it would be fine to just continue as is. So maybe if I just search for insert, for example. There's nothing specific for insert. What about statement tag? Command tag. Let me search command tag. Ah! No, there is a special case for move. Commands with affected rows. Select, update, delete, fetch, move, copy. It's 8 years ago. Okay, so clearly it's not. Are we still using libpq or did we switch to something else? Is another question. On. Well, this is confusing, I have to say. Very confusing. Driver con. Connector.connect. Connect. Is a database SQL, Go database SQL driver. And this connector is made of what? Oh my God, this is like getting out of control. PQ.connector with notice handling. Okay, so it is literally libpq. Huh. Well, what do we think is going on here, you guys? I'm actually a little bit lost as to why this wouldn't be working just fine. I'm a little bit lost, not gonna lie. And it's a very dumb place to be lost at, honestly, because it seems like it's so close. So we do this cooking tag business. We say tag is equal to pen, tag, buff, comma, tag, stir. If it's a rows affected, which it is, right? We made sure that it was a rows affected, right? Move foo. Cooking tag move. Rows affected. 1. Out of curiosity, why don't we go ahead and do we vendor this libpq thing? Libpq, we do, right? Con.go. What is it called? This is con.go. Con.go. So we're gonna just go ahead and print out all this junk. We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna YOLO it. We're gonna say commands with affected rows is equal to blah. Fine. Parse complete. We're just gonna print out. We're gonna just print it out every time. Format.println. Why am I not editing this in the IDE? It's because I couldn't find it. This is con.go and libpq. So pq con.go. There we go. Okay. Format.println finished parsing tag, and let's just go ahead and print out the whole tag. So it's going to be command tag. I guess we have to save the old command tag. Orig is equal to command tag, and then orig, comma, orig, comma, command tag. All right, so we'll try this out. All right, trying again. Huge amount of junk. So we're gonna say create table. We're gonna say begin. I should probably clean up some of the prints that I've added that are no longer useful. This is like unreadable. Oh my God, I can't even see what's going on. Begin, declare, board. Begin, declare, move. Okay, so finished parsing tag move 1 move. Okay, so still it seems to be working fine, and yet we're still not outputting it properly. What the heck? I still think there's got to be like a special case somewhere. Return rows affected, comma, command tag, parse complete. This ends up getting used by a bunch of stuff. Simple exec gets returned. Is it just that we ignore command tag, our caller doesn't care? Then how does our shell know to print out this thing? That's what I'm confused about. This is just like a shell issue. Select, insert. Don't understand. Dominic, what is going on? As usual, I'm deeply confused about something, but hey. Is there a special case for these things, is the question. Is there a special case? Ah! Ah! There was a special case. So dumb, dude. Oh my god, I'm so mad. All I had to do was this. All I had to do was this. Well, while that we're here, why don't we just go ahead and make sure we're not missing any other ones so I don't have this pain again. I don't have this pain again. No more pain, please. Let the pain go away. PQ con.go. Select, update, delete, fetch, move, copy. Now, why would fetch be there? That's a little bit weird, right? I wouldn't expect fetch to be there. I think it's a bug that... I think it's a bug in libpq that fetch is there at all. That doesn't make any sense. Oh wait, no, it does. Unsuccessful completion of fetch command returns a command tag. The count is the number of... What? Dude, that's so confusing. That doesn't make any sense. Because how I didn't know that you could return both rows and a command tag. That is unusual. That is very weird. And I didn't know that. I don't think like we do that anywhere else. And we do actually. We actually do. And we never add a count, which is really funny. Well, that's okay. I don't think that it matters because I don't know if anybody really ever cares about this stuff. Suppose it's worth at least adding a comment in that place that I was editing. So note that fetch. This one is used with create table as. Actually, you know, this is unnecessary. Because we're never going to be seeing it, is the entire point. I think what I should do is put this in a different place. I think this should go over here, where we talk about the type of the move statement, or the fetch statement, rather. Yeah. We currently don't support this mode. But including it in a comment for future spelunkers. Hey Lithium, how are you doing? And then I want to add one more comment of this nature to con.go. All right, this it's actually, yeah. That still should. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, Is everything supposed to return a count? Let's take a look at the. What if I just look SQL select.html? No, this doesn't seem to return any command tag business. Where's this tag business defined? Thanks for the 1,000 bits, Lithium. Appreciate that. That is nice of you. How are you doing? You doing good? What's life like? Have you avoided COVID? I avoided it until I didn't. But I'm better now. I'm feeling good. Back to 100%. Back to 100%. Just in time to go on vacation. It's kind of like the mid-January one-time only stream. Missed the last 2 weeks, and I'm gonna miss the next 2 weeks because I'm going skiing. But just wanted to make sure to, keep it up, say hello, hang out, and whatever. Where is this thing where oh, here we go. Is this message formats maybe? Command tag? The command tag. For an insert, the tag is insert OID rows. For delete, delete rows. Update, update rows. For a select or create table as command, the tag is select rows within its own rows retrieved. Wow. Okay, so that is a big change that we don't actually do. Note that according to the Postgres docs, I'll never be the ninja of programming with such irregular streams, I know. Yeah, my plans for becoming the ninja of programming are basically delayed until I don't have a job. But maybe when I don't have a job, I'll become the ninja of programming. That'd be the dream. But I'm not planning to do that anytime soon. I like having a job, to be honest. Note that according to the Postgres docs, even rows statements like fetch and select should return the number of rows that were fetched in the command tag. We don't do that at all. Wait, yes we do. What the heck? What am I even talking about? We literally do it right here. We literally do it right here. Why am I saying anything? Okay, just undo everything. Just cancel the show. Just, I was wrong. Forget everything I said. What I said made no sense. Okay, cancel it all. We're good. We're all good here. Okay, so let's just get rid of this as well. Okay, let's, we're good. This is good news. Good news, not bad news. It's good news. So let's go ahead and remove our change to libpq. Why don't we just go ahead and do a little bit of a new branch here. Get co-b SQL cursor move. Get add-p here. We're going to say yes, 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 yes. Let's edit this. Get rid of this. Yes, 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 yes. Yo, B Dougie. B Dougie with the big raid. B Dougie with the raid of 79 people. What is up, y'all? How's it going? Thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate that. How's everybody doing? How was your stream? What were you working on? For those who don't know me, I'm Jordan. I am a programmer and engineering manager who works at Cockroach Labs, and a lot of the time, most of the time on stream on Fridays,
The data bank's too
I
big.
work
I have to
on
narrow down the
CockroachDB
search.
development, which is, of course, an open source distributed SQL database that is pretty cool. So that's kind of what I do most of the time. Database talk, database hacking, Go stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great stream and having a good night, etc. Oh, did you get that? Did you get that Fat Coding Garden stream raid? That can be a good one for sure. We were working on hot open sauce.pizza. Hot open sauce.pizza. Dang. I don't know what this is, but it looks great. Popular, upvoted, discussed, and recent. Okay, so it looks like it's some kind of... Oh, wait, I think I actually saw you tweeting about this. So this is a good way to figure out good first issues, right? You're a new contributor to open source. You're somebody who likes to do stuff, and you want to find a place to contribute some time and effort. And maybe that's what this is about. Product hunt for open source projects, sort of. Okay, that's a more concise way of saying whatever it was that I was trying to say. Well, this is very nice. It looks super cool, and you know, I do get a lot of people who come in wanting to know how to contribute to open source, and I feel like tools like this are a really great way for people to get started. So thank you for working on this. Seems pretty neat. Seems like good stuff. And the best part is that your repo gets to be at the top of your own repo list, which is always a good thing. So how do I upvote something? I want to upvote your thing as well. Oh, I have to log in. Okay, let's log in. Authorized. And then I get to upvote. Nice. Love that. Well, that's cool stuff. So yeah, what kind of database you guys got going on over there? What kind of database you guys got going over there for open source? Okay, so we were just making a bit of a change. Basically what we were working on the stream here was adding support for something called Move Cursor to CockroachDB. So one of the projects that I've been working on the stream for the past couple of weeks has been this PR here, which adds support for cursors to the database, which basically is a way of saying, I want to make a query, but not get all of the data from the query at once. I want to kind of paginate while keeping my connection open. Just give me 5 rows, give me 10 rows, move my cursor around and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. And it's mostly done. And this move thing is sort of a little extension that allows you to move a cursor without having to fetch any rows from it. So that's kind of what we've been adding just now. I was just debugging a weird problem, but I think we're basically good, and I'm just like stepping through some of the changes and adding only the ones that aren't debug print lines, which is of course what we were using to debug the problem. But yeah, that's kind of what's up. So right, this change, I think I didn't really need this change, because this is where I was adding the types function that I think I'm gonna, well, whatever. Let's just add all of this and we can come back and fix it up later. So we're gonna add everything that isn't debug prints, which I guess we're done with. So everything else should be just debug prints, except for this. So I did ignore this, which means that I need to go and get rid of it. So, and Cockroach is written in Go, by the way. So if you guys are Go fans, this is a Go stream for the most part, but we don't need this guy any longer. Get add-p again. So skip this, skip this, skip this, skip this, skip this, skip this, add this, add this. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, and thanks again for the raid. I really appreciate it. Have a great time at ballet class. Enjoy yourself and have a great weekend. Supabase. Okay, that's cool. Supabase is an awesome product. So let's go ahead and make a commit. So we're going to say SQL, add support for move cursor. Release node, SQL change, add support for the move command, which add support for the move command, which moves a SQL cursor without fetching any rows from it. Move is identical to fetch, except it doesn't, including in its arguments and syntax, except it doesn't return any rows. Okay. So I think the rest of this stuff we can just get rid of. So git checkout 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we also have to add this, git commit amend. So let's go ahead and recompile and we can see what it's doing. And then maybe we can add some tests. That would be the next step. What's up, Leet Geek? And also hello to all the folks who joined, Aoki and Nathan G and Eek or X. Good to see you guys. And Nami, of course. Hello again.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 data banks throughout the world.
Okay, so let's go ahead and check this out, see if things are working again. So we're going to say create table. We'll say begin. We're going to declare our cursor as select star from A. And then hopefully the goal is that if I say move 10 foo, it should say move 10 and not just move. That was the change we just did. Yay. Okay, that is awesome. And then I think if I say fetch foo, so basically fetch and move, right? I can say fetch 10 foo. It's going to give me 10 rows from my foo cursor. I could do other stuff in the meantime besides just fetching. I can run other statements. I can even mutate the table and the cursor won't notice, which is called the insensitivity property of cursors. But then I can also say move 3 foo, and it's going to move the cursor forward by 3. If I say fetch 10 foo again, it'll hopefully be 3 after where I was at here, which I think it is because, or was it 4 after? Do we have a little bit of an off by 1 issue? Let's make a simpler table. So abort, create table, T, A, and primary key, or let's say A as select star from generate series 1 through 100. Okay, crap. So here's just a table with 100 rows in it, 1 through 100, begin, declare, fetch 10 foo. Okay, so here's the numbers 1 through 10. I should say move foo. And then I think that the next one should be 12. If I say fetch 10 foo, I should get 12 through 22. Okay, so that is actually working fine. So that's great. Cool. How do I get the numbers in front of the files? So this is a common question. I love this utility so much. It's called getNumber. It's a little script. It wraps a bunch of the git commands to give you numbers, and then it allows you to refer to them by name, or by number rather. The other neat thing is that you don't even have to say, like I think I said git add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you can also just say git add 1 through 5, or git add 1 through 5, 6 through 7, or something like that, and it lets you do ranges, and it's just so much more efficient. It's such a pain in the butt to copy and paste all those file names all the time when you're doing git operations. Like I don't know exactly how people live with that, but the git number thing is really awesome, and I'm like sort of spoiled by it, I guess. Yeah. By the way, you guys, if you're into Discords, I do have a Discord. I'm trying to grow it a little bit. So if you want to hang out after the stream and chat with other database aficionados, you're welcome to join the Discord. Quick shill, a little bit of a shill. Okay, so next up, we're going to add some tests. We're going to add some tests.
Over 1,000 data banks throughout the world.
And let's start with some grammar tests. That's the first step. So I think our grammar tests are probably in a file called cursor test data.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 data banks throughout the world.
Thanks for the follows, guys. Nice mechanical keyboard got a little soaked and it's now chilling on the radiator while I'm stuck with this old Cherry RS with Win95 labeling. Nice. That sounds pretty old school. So here's my test file with all of the different fetch syntax. And I think like literally all we have to do is copy and paste this and change all the fetches to moves. And the test cases will work because like I said, the fetch syntax is exactly the same as the move syntax. So I think those are very trivial test cases to add. And why don't we go ahead and make sure that this is still working. So if I make test package equal parser tests equals test parse, just to make sure that that's all working pretty well. Cool. Do people have good plans for the weekend, by the way? Anything exciting coming up for everybody? Any exciting personal projects that you guys are working on in your programming lives? Kind of curious. I guess if you guys came from Coding Garden, is there a lot of like web developers in the chat hanging out? It's kind of different audience. A lot of the time I get people who are, you know, DB nerds or whatever, but I like to meet new people on Twitch. I really like Coding Garden stream, so you all are probably pretty cool as well. Actually, I guess I haven't seen Coding Garden stream in a while. I think last time I was watching it, they were doing a lot of kind of front end stuff, right? Am I crazy? Am I making that up? I'm probably like totally wrong. Everyone's like, what is this guy talking about? But anyway, so we've added a parser test. Let's go ahead and add like a logic test as well. He does, okay, does front end and node. Got it. Cool. I thought so. I thought so. You never seen a line of Go? Go's a pretty good language. I'm happy with Go. If people are curious about Go, I do have a couple of resources about like why are we writing a database in Go, which is a garbage collected language. There's a good blog post about that you can read about. And I think it's a good language if you're doing kind of just general backend or microservice development. It's a pretty good one to know, have in your back pocket, I think. And like pretty straightforward to learn if you are familiar with a language like Python. It's not really too different. Not too different. It's like kind of somewhere in between like Python and Java. That's the way I think about it. Right. So test cases. Which languages did I program before Go? So my last job was really mostly Java, but I did a little bit of Scala and Clojure because like I'm a functional programming nerd, or at least I was before. And yeah, I guess like I spent a long time doing JVM stuff, and a bunch of Python. I guess I do a little bit of I dabble in TypeScript, but I'm really bad at it. I don't really know. I haven't really learned front-end technologies as well as I would have liked. To be honest, TypeScript makes me feel like a beginner programmer again. I like try to mess around with TypeScript and I just am like completely lost. So I don't know. It's very, very different. A lot of stuff to learn in that world that I have never learned. What was I doing? Test cases. So here's a giant test case written in our sort of logic test declarative. I'm going to open this one up in Vim, actually. Oh, you like the tunes? Thanks. I'll link you to the Spotify playlist if you like. The way that I found this playlist is when I searched DMCA free music on Spotify and found this one's called Lo-Fi Non-Copyright Hip-Hop Beats to Stream and Relax to, or something like that. This is pretty funny. Got to avoid those DMCA strikes though. It's an important part of being a streamer. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and make sure that we'll make it maybe a similar test case for move, test move. Let's go ahead. Why don't we just go ahead and copy all of these test cases here. Do I have a music command? Music. Oh yeah. I guess I already had that. Oh, that's actually a different playlist. Either way. Go's main benefit is it's too simpler for obviously bad abstractions to be a common occurrence. You don't need as much skill to design Go code versus Rust. Yeah, I mean, like, skill, I don't know. That argument always kind of bothers me, to be perfectly honest. Like, I think that it takes a lot of skill to design good Go code too. It's just like, I think it's more like it's more of a language where it's like there's only one right way to do things, right? That's like a big trade-off. Like Scala is like a language that you can do things in many different ways. Rust is a language where you can do things in many different ways. And Go is a language where you can do things in fewer ways. I feel I prefer that way of saying things because I don't know. I'm not such a fan of thinking of languages as like good for people with less skill versus good for people with more skill. I don't really like that language. Go is certainly easier to read for novices. That is definitely true. That is definitely true. Okay, so we're gonna try do something like this. So the beginning of this table is what? It's basically 1, 2. I'm confused. Where's the table where I added a bunch of stuff? So there's the big table. There's the A table. There are no...
Databanks.
Okay, I did add a bunch of stuff over here in this one. Okay. I don't know why my table is like very confusing to me. Why is my table full of like weird junk that's not like uniform in the beginning? Don't really get that. 1, 2, 2, 2. I feel like I should just make it uniform. Like everybody else, it's like G plus 1. So this 1, 2. I should just change this to be 1, 2, 2, 3, and that will like simplify my life a little bit. 2, 3. Okay. I think that's going to be a bit simpler. What's up, Motto? Company streaming my workflow. Yeah, it's definitely because it's open source, and it's kind of like we have this sort of a Friday 20% time policy where you can kind of work on non-roadmap project, so to speak. Also, my day job these days is not programming. I'm a director of engineering, and on Fridays this is like when I like to reconnect with my roots. You know, do a little programming, try to try to stay sane, so to speak. So that's kind of like what the story is about the stream. Okay, so coming back to these test cases. So I think if I were to say statement okay, move 10 foo, query II, fetch 1 foo, I should get something like, I think I'll get 11, 12 maybe. Roll back. Okay, let's just go ahead and, oh my God, was I editing the wrong file this entire time? That's extremely dumb. Okay, let's just copy all of this. I don't know why we have 2 copies of this thing, and one's not the one that you're supposed to edit. It's very annoying. Okay, so we'll paste down here. We'll delete it to the top. That did not work. Okay, I'm so confused. What did I do? Wait, is it a symlink? Oh, I think it's a symlink. Okay, okay, we're good. We're good. It's a symlink. Okay, that was weird. Okay. Anyway, sorry, that was confusing. Mess taste make test base logic files equals cursor. Let's see what happens. Hey, thanks for subscribing, Nami, and thanks to Lithium for giving that initial gift sub that started up the sub. Appreciate that, Nami and Lithium. And hello, Toxicity, by the way. Okay, let's do test config is equal to local. Make sure we only run the simplest config for now. We do get a failure, and the failure is caused by what? Unknown command begin. Okay, I probably just missed a... Unknown command begin. Okay, so I just need to say statement okay here. Expected 11, 12, but found 12, 13. Does that make sense? So move 10. If I move 1, I get to 2. I guess it does make sense because this fetch is like the next thing. I think if I were to say fetch 1 foo, move 1 foo, fetch 1 foo, I would get 3, not 2. So let's actually make that as test case first, just to make it really simple. So we're going to say move 1 foo, fetch 1 foo. This is going to get 3, 4. And then if I were to say statement okay, move 10 foo, I'm actually going to get the one after 10 here, which is going to be, or the one after 13, which is going to be 14, 15. So I think this should work all right. Using Java at work, you tried some Go and it's kind of nice. What do you think of Java? There's a lot of Java haters out there. I personally quite like Java. They've really added a lot of good features to it, and it's very powerful, mature, great tooling, and language is getting better and better. So I'm kind of a Java fan. I kind of get why people don't like it though. It's a bit verbose, etc. But it's a strong language. See, look what I've done. Dominic's just out of here, dude. He's like, no. Any Java friend is an enemy of mine. The friend of my enemy is my enemy? No, that's not what you're supposed to say. Anyway. So I guess we should technically test all of the same directions as we do here. So why don't I actually just go ahead and copy this entire thing. If people can program in Objective-C, Java can't be that bad. Objective-C, are people still using Objective-C much? I feel like Objective-C is kind of on its way out. Like there's Swift now, right? Isn't Swift like what you're supposed to use if you're programming for the Mac? So we're going to move first, move next, then we can say fetch statement OK, fetch one foo. This is going to be query II. And this should be what? This should be, I think, yeah, 3, 4. Move forward 3 foo. This is going to say I guess this should be 7, 8. And move relative 3 foo. I think this is going to give me 11, 12. This is going to give me 13, 14. Then move absolute 15 foo, then okay, I think that should be good. Statement, okay, roll back. I wish Cockroach had enterprise self-hosted some lists, pricing it all, cloud pricing, EC2, contact us. Yeah, you know, it's true. I think contact us definitely scares users, and that's just kind of the reality of, I don't know, where we're at in the industry with hosted products versus non-hosted products. It's just a lot easier to provide transparent pricing when it's cloud. This is my take anyway. This is my personal opinion. Personal opinion. Then we should also do one with error cases, I guess. Move for cursors is basically scrolling, yes. Okay, well that was pretty easy. Yeah, it updates the position under the cursor. Exactly. Of course, it can only go forwards right now. That's a big missing piece of the cursor implementation that I've done. That we don't have a capability to use to create what's called a scrollable cursor, which allows you to go backwards and not just forwards. Scrollable cursors, I think, are not so difficult to implement because they're literally just implemented with like a big buffer that spills to disk, and we have a lot of. It's not so hard to do that in the code base to add a scrollable buffer that spills to disk. I just haven't done it, and yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do it at the time, for the time being anyway. Maybe if somebody asks for it. It is expensive, but like the point of a lot of the times with databases, it's like users can ask for an expensive thing and then you do it because they've asked for it, so to speak, right? It's like if somebody asks for a scrollable cursor, it means that they would like to spend a lot of resources making a scrollable cursor. And who are we to say that you can't spend all of your resources making a scrollable cursor? Of course, we are not ones to be able to say that. So that's why we would do it that way. That's one thing that's kind of missing. Another thing that's kind of missing is binary cursors, which is just a way to get back the data in the binary encoding instead of the text encoding, which is like, okay, is this really necessary to implement? But of course, with many things in Postgres, if there's a feature that exists, like somebody out there is using it. So it's something that I want to do at some point as well. But you know, I suppose what I could do here is, well, I'll just do it like this, I guess. The database handles the marshalling. Yes, it does. So the database already has kind of two different formats for data. There's a text format and a binary format. And you can choose which one that you get by using a format code when you connect to the database in the wire protocol. And normally that will say, okay, well, if you want the text, you're going to get text. If you want binary, you want binary. The thing that's weird about the cursor implementation, so like SQL cursors that you can run from the SQL shell or from a SQL command, like I was doing, is that you can actually be running this from a non-binary connection. So this is I'm running over a text connection. And if I were to say declare foo cursor for select 10, fetch one foo, like this is always coming back in the text format because I'm over a text connection. But if you want binary data over the text connection, there's like no way to do it. So the binary cursor is supposedly like solving for that case, which to me, I don't know. I mean, this seems like a borderline case to me, to be perfectly honest, but some people apparently want it. So good for them. And we have to do it somehow. Yeah, you know what? I think I was going to make this a separate branch and everything, but I think I'll just make it one giant branch, honestly, because it doesn't... Still waiting on reviews on that other branch. So, well, I'll make a new branch. Why don't we be nice? We're going to be nice. I'll make a new branch. Let's make a PR for cursor move. So SQL implement move command for cursors. All but the last commit is from whatever this thing is called, 74006.
Why do you think he uses reindeer? It was on the afternoon of Christmas Eve, and I was in Mrs. Prothero's garden waiting for cats with her son Jim.
Oh my god, it says Saprat. I need to fix that. Desperately need to fix that. Never say Saprat when you should be saying support. Okay, so you're procrastinating a large rebase, so you appreciate the answers as you procrastinate. Very fair. Rebases can be annoying when there's a lot of conflicts to resolve. All right, I'm gonna be right back. Quickly use the bathroom.
Where did he go? Oh, he went to deliver letters and presents to other families. He does, boy, but the postman brings presents to people who live far away, like,
Will Father Christmas be able to get here in such heavy rain?
Hey guys, I'm back. I don't even mean to provide fully transparent on-premise pricing, just to offer up an up for negotiation list price low enough for Cockroach to be a good choice at the list's price point. Unlocking the enterprise license or 30 days trial, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. I think that I generally agree with you that it would be nice. Yeah. I generally agree with you that it would be nice. Database pricing is pretty complicated though. Truth is, it's complicated. So, you know, my question, I guess, is sort of like why. My hope is that a hosted database should be made as good, or much better, really, than an on-prem thing with like confusing pricing or whatever. So, I don't know. Not that it should be confusing, but like, I think the world is definitely moving towards like hosted solutions for many things, including databases. And so I guess like my hope is that we could make that cloud solution satisfy all of the requirements that you might have, rather than have to mess around with on-prem stuff, which is always just really complicated for any product, really. I mean, software licensing for server software is like never, it's never simple. I'm sure you are aware of that. Twice the money for a tenth of the performance. Glad to see some database love on Twitch. Kubiti, hello. Non-EU company, one would immediately run into severe GDPR issues with a hosted database. Well, the hope is that a database like Cockroach should be able to give you data domiciling guarantees that can steer you clear from that stuff. I don't think our thing is probably not quite there yet. I'm sure you've looked into it. Maybe it's not quite there yet, but we definitely want to be there. We want to get there, and I think we will. So some good news. I think that data domiciling is something that we're really conscious of as a core requirement and use case for a multi-region database, which is of course something that we want to really focus on. So yeah, it's a hard thing to deal with, GDPR, for many people. So it feels like it's a place where we can add a lot of value if we think about it, right? The issue is the provider being a non-EU entity. Oh, I see. I guess I don't know too much about that. All right, what am I doing now? Let's go ahead and see if there's any responses to our other comments that we were doing and try to get those done. And then see if we can make any more progress. So the thing that we were trying to merge earlier was this guy. And this guy is now past CI. So I can say, thanks for the reviews all. 4 is our plus, get this thing merged. So that's exciting. This one has a big red X on it, so I'm sort of wondering about that. Until then, we'll just have to pay for our Oracle ULA licenses. Yes. Oracle, always a fun time. Okay, go lint. Exported statement cursor statement dot format should have comment or be exported. Okay, so that's just something that's very fixable. Statement.go format. Wait, what file was this? Oh, cursor.go. So format implements the node formatter interface. Easy enough to fix that. Have I begun to play with generics enough at all? No, I have not yet. It's been something that I've got on my mind. I definitely want to do a stream about generics in Go because I want to learn about them first of all and maybe see if I can apply them to my work a little bit, but I haven't done it at all yet. Have you? Anybody in the chat used Go generics yet? I haven't. I just haven't had the chance. I guess it's still, is it still in beta or is it like fully released? I don't remember. Go generics. Go. Lang. We're not at Go 118 yet, so it is not yet released, seems like. I think Go 118 is the next release that's coming out. Well, to be honest, I think that I'm just about ready to sign off. We've done a pretty decent stream, I think. Just over 3 hours. I feel like we got some good stuff done. We added move. That was the main thing that we worked on. We kind of reviewed some old PRs, fixed them up for merge and stuff like that. But I think I'm getting a little tired, so it's time for me to sign off. But yeah, it was good to stream for you guys. It's been a couple weeks, and it's going to be a couple more weeks. Actually, I'm going to be on vacation in Colorado skiing for the next couple of weeks, so I'll be back in February basically. But you guys should all join the Discord if you haven't already. Stay in touch with the homies. Stay in touch with the database people. Follow me on Twitter as well. My Twitter is Large Data Bank. And let's go ahead and find somebody to raid. Let us find somebody to raid, shall we? See who's online. Well, we've been talking about programming languages, so obviously we need to raid this person. That is an obvious choice. Our friend Andrew, who's of course the Zig master and author. So we'll definitely go ahead and raid Andrew. But again, yeah, it's been a nice stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in and all the follows and love and everything. Hope to see you around. Hope to see you next time. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Good next couple weeks. Get out there, do some good things, do some projects, enjoy yourself. I'll see you guys next time. Alrighty, bye-bye.